Standard shopping campaigns are on the verge of extinction ever since Performance Max campaigns came along. But how am I able to still, even to this day, achieve results like these ones right here, where in a 30-day period we're running standard shopping campaigns alone at a 6x ROAS, or maybe in the last 14 days, so in a 14-day period alone, we're increasing the ROAS for a standard shopping campaign to a 7x. What is the secret strategy behind making numbers like these possible with standard shopping in 2023? Now, not with just this ad account right here on my screen alone, because this ad account is just one of the many we handle under my Google Ads agency, Your Marketing. After about analyzing over 150 different e-commerce brands in different niches, in different industries in the last 2 years alone, I've come to realize that most e-commerce brands have zero idea how to even make them work. So in this video, we're gonna be going over several different things or reasons why your standard shopping campaigns are really not working and what you can do then about them to make them work. So let's start off with the reason number one why your standard shopping campaign or the previous ones you have launched probably have not gotten the results you would like. The first major reason is the bid that you decided for your standard shopping campaign is probably a simple guess. Now, this might sound a bit over the top, but the unfortunate reality is 99% of e-commerce store owners, when they start a standard shopping campaign, their bid is a full-on guess. They have no idea whether the bid that they chose or not is gonna be accurate to their products or it's even gonna work in the first place. So as a result, you might have experienced this yourself. Your ad, your shopping ad, does not even spend a single dime, or it does not get any impressions, or if it starts to get impressions, it's just unprofitable ad spend. You're not making any sales, you're not making any revenue. This is one of the most common outcomes of having a randomly guessed bid. I mean, with this ad account right here, if we go back to when we launched this campaign, let's see exactly when the standard shopping campaign was launched. It was launched around the middle of March. So if we go and look at the month of March, from March 1st all the way to the end of March 31st, we can see that during that time, we had two different ad groups running within the standard shopping campaign. Now, the reason why we applied this strategy is because we divided certain products out based on their commonalities and placed them in their own individual ad groups, but the bid and everything, it's the exact same. During the first month, this campaign brought in roughly $5,200 with just $1,200 in revenue. That's almost a 5x ROAS. Now, the reason why we came up with this bid itself is because we did an analysis of the previous campaigns, previous search campaigns, display, discovery, because this ad account did not really include a lot of shopping campaigns. We analyzed those previous campaigns, we did keyword research, and figured out that a bid between 60 cents to 90 cents would work the best for this specific niche. So we started right in the middle at around 80 cents, and right from the beginning, it worked. Now, does this happen in all the cases? Absolutely not. A lot of times this actually ends up failing. But if you do proper analysis, if you do proper research, you will figure out that most e-commerce brands do fairly well between a bid of around 45-50 cents to about 80 cents and 90 cents on the higher end. And that's exactly what worked here. But before you decide a bid, you need to be analyzing your competition. You need to be doing keyword research, because if you guess a random bid, there's very good chances your shopping campaign will fail. This brings us to reason number two why most standard shopping campaigns don't work for your brand, and that's because there is no type of proper campaign segregation going on. I mean, with this shopping campaign right here, even though the segregation seems fairly small and fairly minimal, we still segregated it out based on different ad groups. So in one ad group, there's only 3 different products running, and in another ad group, which is this one, there's the rest of the 3 products running. And the reason why we decided to segregate it this way is because number one, there's only 6 products within this e-commerce brand, but number two, there's 2 different subcategories or sub brands that this brand sells as a whole. So think of it like one main brand, but then it sells 2 products that are slightly different from each other, 2 different brands, you could say. And we decided to separate out each brand in its own ad group, and this strategy worked wonders here. Why? because we did proper product segregation. We basically put the products that have some kind of commonality with each other. This is where a lot of e-commerce store owners go wrong. They just jam pack a bunch of products in together inside one standard shopping campaign, regardless of what kind of similarity they have with each other. So that's what we took into consideration before launching these ad groups, and as a result, it ended up working perfectly fine. But the third major reason why so many standard shopping campaigns fail is because there's a lot of excessive keyword optimizations done. I mean, so far, if we look at search terms, if we just look at the all-time data, if we change this to all-time, we can see that in total, this campaign has spent roughly $3,000. It's not a big number, but it's not a small number either. If we go on over to negative keywords, in total, we have just about 12 different negative keywords inserted for this e-commerce brand. Now, the reason why we did that is because we scour through these search terms every 2 weeks or so, every 2 weeks to every 3 weeks, and we look at what is wasting the most amount of money, what is just not getting results despite spending a decent amount of money. Like for example, this keyword right here, this would be on our next exclusion list because it has spent about $70 so far and gotten 0 sales. But the way we do that is if there are certain keywords which we absolutely do not want to rank for, we exclude them with quotations. So we basically do a phrase match exclusion. So anytime, for example, if this keyword ranks again with any other word attached to it, for example, let's say you're selling 3D printer and you don't want to rank for the keyword 2D printer because you sell 3D printers, not 2D printers, you can put the word 2D with quotations and it will be basically excluded as a phrase match. So what's going to happen is no matter what somebody searches up next time, like 2D printer or 2D printer for sale, etc., that keyword will never basically spend money for your products, which is what you want. But for the other keywords where it's maybe more of a narrower keyword which you do sell but it's just not working, like for example 3D printer for sale, let's say that specific keyword is just not working, that's when you exclude it and you put it as an exact match, meaning in brackets within the negative keywords list. That's exactly what we did right here. But the problem is a lot of e-commerce store owners go above and beyond there in the search terms list every other day or every few days, excluding one keyword after the other. And when you do this excessively, this kind of hampers and diminishes the power of Google's algorithm to go out and find your ideal audience for you. So this reason, excessive keyword optimizations, is one of the biggest reasons why so many standard shopping campaigns fail. Instead, give the algorithm more time. Even if you see a specific keyword or multiple keywords spending decent amount of money without a sale, give them just a few more days because you never know that Google's algorithm might be using those keywords to then further find more keywords which actually are getting you sales. So if you're very hasty and do big changes with keywords, exclude large numbers with any optimization, that's going to lead to a lot of problems. But this leads us to the fourth reason for lack of sales with standard shopping or lack of growth, and that's the opposite side of excessive, which is lack of. So lack of doing keyword optimization. I've seen a lot of e-commerce brands, a lot of ad accounts where they have spent $10,000, $50,000, even $100,000 on a given standard shopping campaign, but when we go inside their negative keywords list, they do not have any negative keywords or they have a very few keywords in here. That is not an ideal approach because you do want to have a decent number of optimizations done. You do want to have a decent amount of exclusions, especially if your ad spend is at that level. So this is where really having kind of a time frame of when you do the optimizations, when you do the exclusions, really comes into effect. I personally like to do it every 14 days, so every 30 days for the e-commerce brands we handle under my Google Ads agency, Your Marketing, which if you're currently doing $40,000 or more per month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling your e-commerce brand to the next level, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But again, keep this optimization period of around 14 to 30 days. Only exclude what's absolutely necessary. Don't go above and don't do less than what's necessary as well. But this brings us to the final reason as to why standard shopping campaigns really don't perform the best, and that's because of an overcomplicated approach. Now, with this approach right here, I showed you there's only 2 different ad groups. A lot of e-commerce brands, what they do is that if they only have a limited number of products that they want to test within a standard shopping, they go above and beyond. they have an ad group for every single product, or they have a new standard shopping campaign for every single product. While that may sound fancy, while that may sound like it's gonna work, unfortunately that does not work because it overcomplicates and overburdens the algorithm. In this case, you might end up with too many audiences you're targeting, you might end up with too many locations, too many ad groups. There's just so much uncertainty and so much extra that you don't need going on at any given time for standard shopping campaigns. This is how your standard shopping campaigns fail. So instead, start taking a more simplistic approach. If you have only a few products that you want to put with standard shopping, maybe have just few ad groups, 1 or 2 ad groups that you test those products in. If you have a lot of products, maybe segregate out with different shopping campaigns, but maybe limit it to 1 to 3 different standard shopping campaigns. You do not need to go too fancy, because all it's gonna do is it's gonna make it harder for the algorithm to understand who your ideal customer is, to understand who to show your ad to in the first place. But again, simple works best with standard shopping. That's the approach we're finding the most amount of success with. But if you're doing $40,000 or more per month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling your e-commerce brand to the next level. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But I want you to watch this video right here on the top Google Shopping and Google search ads that I've found this year so far, which are basically crushing it. So this will give you a very good idea of what you should have for your brand as well.